baby, it's showtime, folks. Welcome in, PHNX Cardinals podcast. Hello, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. It is draft week. Johnny Venerable, Brack, talking about how these precious Redbirds can ace the 2023 NFL draft, not fall flat on their face as they've so often been prone to do, Bo.
That's right. They can't get out of their own way, it seems like, all the time, right? But they do have an opportunity in front of them. And with that opportunity, Arizona Cardinals should have that hope, right? Shawshank says hope is a good thing, and sometimes hope can be a bad thing, right? But in this case, we're hopeful that Monti Ossenfort, his deep scouting roots, will take him to the Arizona Cardinals and the NFL draft in Kansas City and make the correct selections come Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday afternoon. It would be big. Can he get his high grades as you and I did doing the Bleacher Report Arizona Cardinals mock draft like we did today? An A, a solid A across the board. We'll see if we can repeat that again today. We'll do another mock. We are doing another mock today, right?
We can do whatever we want. It's our show. It was a scarlet letter A in the sense it's A with the red for the Redbirds. That's all we do. We ace it, and the Cardinals can learn a thing or two. We want to put this out there tomorrow on the show, the pre-draft show. In our last segment, we're going to go through every mock draft that is sent to us. So what we want, take a screen capture. If you do a PFF mock draft, send it to Bo and I, DMs wide open, men of the people, and we will display your PFF mock draft results. We want to get a general consensus ahead of Thursday night at Four Peaks in downtown Tempe of what the people want. But right now, let's talk about what we want and how we believe the Redbirds can ace this draft. And, I'm going to go first. I'm going to tell you exactly what the Cardinals need to do. As much as I love future picks and I want to be a big, fat, greedy slob and I want to get ones into the future, I do feel like 48 hours out, we need to be realistic. I think a small trade down that nets this franchise, Will Anderson Jr., is best case scenario. Let me tell you why. You can secure maybe a 2 by trading down with Indy. Indy wants to come up. Let's say that the Tyree Wilson to Houston Texans, please, football gods, let that be true. We're going to get into that. Let's say that's true. And you got 3 prime quarterbacks sitting there at pick number 3. And, you got the crazy owner in Indianapolis. Ballard's fighting for his job. They call you up and say, we're going to give you a 2. We got to switch spots. Ossenfort gets a second this year, an extra second. You go down to 4. Above Seattle, you take Will Anderson Jr. right in their effing face. You get the new face of your franchise defensively, and you get a sweet, sweet top 40, 41-ish second round pick. I think as good as a first next year would be, I think Will Anderson Jr. trumps any trade down that's significant because of the fact of who he is. I think he's the best player in the draft. I think he represents everything they want this franchise to be going into the forward years between character, production on the field. That, to me, is the perfect way to kick off the Ossenfort Gannon era. Hey, look at this human being we got to be the staple of this franchise on and off the field. And we got a second-round pick tomorrow we're going to have a lot of fun with. That, to me, that's how they ace the 2023 NFL draft, Bo Brock.
That's sweet. It's just sweet that to get that high moral character guy, right? It's romantic, isn't it?
Don't patronize me.
You probably want to buy his jersey and wear his jersey proudly.
That
white
you
want your daughter to date him, and all these great things about Will Anderson. That's fantastic, but that's not how they ace this draft. I'll push back a little bit. I don't think that has to be a necessity in order for Monti Ossenfort to ace this draft. No, what you mentioned at the beginning, I think that's the most important in accumulating future assets. When we look at the teams that are in a position right now in this draft to where if they do well in the draft, they could catapult themselves out of the rebuild phase and into the contention phase, back to the playoffs, have some exciting young cores, and taking all the assets that they have accumulated over the last 2 seasons. I'm talking about, a Houston team. I'm talking about a Chicago team, a team that is right there on the precipice. The Arizona Cardinals aren't there yet. So as good as a Will Anderson would be for your rebuild, what's more important is getting more assets, clearing the way to have more plentiful drafts beyond 2023. Sure, have a solid class this year, create more capital this year in this draft with your assets, with the 3rd overall pick. I think that comes with picks this draft, but of course, with the eye on 2024, and then DeAndre Hopkins potentially, we'll get into that conversation, what he could net you as far as this draft goes. And I think guys that have high ceilings, very high ceilings, take some swings. And I know that Steve Keim certainly did that, but obviously take some swings for guys that are projectable. I'm talking about the Tyree Wilsons of the world. I'm talking about the Gonzalez's of the world, the Canseys of the world. These guys that are absolute freaks that I know that it could turn out to be in a couple years. Those guys busted, but you could also be talking about those guys in the next couple years and saying, man, what the hell were they talking about? These were the premier players in this draft. In order to do so, you have to trust your scouts. You have to trust what you're doing as a general manager. And I would love to see it. If you can go out there and you can accumulate future draft capital and get some guys that have high ceilings, very high projectables, I think that's the win-win for this Arizona Cardinals draft. Now, we'll get into more in depth. Like, I'll get into more like 2nd round options, 3rd round options, and so forth. But I think that's where you really need to look at this.
But they're going to have, presumably, if they do my deal, small trade down, 2 2s, 2 3s. You can even trade down from pick 34 if you want. And then we've got the Hopkins, asset that could be dealt for additional picks. I guess outside of the 2024 first, like, how many more picks do you need? And I know you want to go in the next draft and you want to be flushed. You want to have 10 to 11 like this year's draft, but you can't project who's available. I know who's available right now. And it's the best player in the draft. And I think, and let's dive into this now, because I think it's the perfect pivot talking point, Bo Brack. The Tyree Wilson hype train is a freight train from hell and cannot be stopped. And I'm afraid of it, but at the same time, I embrace it. So dating back when Bo and I were at the NFL Combine, the consensus was Tyree Wilson is going to be a factor for the Arizona Cardinals or somebody else in the top 5 to 7 picks. And as we've gotten closer, and Tyree Wilson, by the way, has not done a damn thing to help his cause yet. He's just a 6'6", 270-pound monster. People are catching up on this tape. They're like, hey, he might be really good. So much so, we had not 1, not 2, 3 viable NFL media people come out and say today, Bo, there is a good likelihood that Tyree Wilson goes 2nd overall to the Houston Texans. Peter Schrager, friend of this program, Michael Lombardi, who has significant ties to that organization, as does Lance Erline. They all went 3 for 3. Lance Erline put him in his mock draft a month ago, and is counting his chips today. What would Tyree Wilson going 2nd overall do for the Arizona Cardinals in pick 3? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I think it would take immense weight off of Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort, not having to pick between Will and Tyree if there's no trade down option. I also think it gives the Cardinals a chance to trade down, and Will Anderson's still there by hook or by crook.
Yeah.
Does it validate the Tyree Wilson talk, seeing him potentially go 2nd overall to Houston?
Yeah, I mean, we talked to somebody close to the situation, and if you listen to this podcast, you can probably figure out who that is. But said that if the Chicago Bears were inexplicably held on to the number 1 pick, they would have been taking Tyree Wilson. You remember that being told to you late night in Indianapolis?
That was told to us by Tyree Wilson's agent, Eric Burkhardt. But now it might come to fruition.
It might. I mean, it's like the pick that's not far off. The next pick in this draft, the Houston Texans, I mean, the word is that they're so confident, as far as their evaluation of this class, that they feel confident by 12 that the chips will fall as they may and that they can still be in a prime position to get a quarterback there. They're not scared of passing on a quarterback at 2, which is, that's not the consensus around the league. The league, obviously, they view that as the importance of the position. Just ask Denver how it goes when you don't have a franchise caliber quarterback. You're out of the postseason basically every season that you don't have one. There are exceptions to the rule, right? We've seen Case Keenum's do it before. But, yeah, I think it does validate the talk as far as and vindicate those people who are Tyree Wilson truthers, and they're puffing their chest out. But it is also smokescreen season. We'll see how the chips actually fall on Thursday night. I mean, one thing we know to be true, right? Frank Reich said today in his pre-draft press conference that he and Scott Fitterer, the GM in Carolina, They are in lockstep as far as where they're going. It's a proposal situation. Everybody's giddy about the future in Carolina, who the quarterback is. Everybody's agreed on it. So Carolina's decided. We don't know about Houston. Houston continues to be the wild card. But regardless of if they take Tyree Wilson and that leaves C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson Jr., and Anthony Richardson up for the taking, Monti Ossenfort's cell phone is going to be going nuts. His landline's going to be going nuts. And you hope that he's just able, in that 10-minute period, is able to wade through all the offers and pick the best one for the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, during that same interview with Peter Schrager on Pat McAfee, it's clear everybody knows the Cardinals are open for business. And whether that helps or hurts them, I don't know. I don't think it matters, frankly, because if they don't trade down, they're going to pick a player. That's not, breaking news. But I think for Cardinal fans, myself included, that prefer Will Anderson Jr. to Tyree Wilson, and having that element of temptation removed from Gannon and Ossenfort. I mean, do you think there's a possibility, Bo? Let's say a trade down's not possible. It's not viable. All the quarterbacks make it to 3, so the teams are like, well, we can just sit back and wait, even though we've got 2 quarterback-needy teams, maybe 3 in Seattle and Indy and Detroit. Do you think there's a possibility the Arizona Cardinals could sit there at pick 3 and weigh another player over Will Anderson Jr.? Because I can't imagine the free fall and the hysteria with the Bird Gang if Will Anderson Jr. isn't pick 2 or pick 3 or pick 4, and you gift him to potentially the Seattle Seahawks. But the free fall for Will Anderson would be significant because those quarterback hungry teams would all supersede and go past the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know. Christian Gonzalez, Paris Johnson Jr. players we know they like. They can't have them rated over Will Anderson Jr., right?
No. I mean, it would be that it'd be hard to believe, right?
Yeah. Because this was the one player we were told that they potentially liked more than Will Anderson Jr.
Right. Exactly. And, I mean, I see people in the chat saying as far as getting a bunch of picks in Anderson, that's the route. But that's not what you described. What you described was like a second-round pick, an extra second-round pick.
But that's a nice second that you could pivot and parlay into maybe a second and a fourth. You're not going to get your robust package. I mean, on Bleacher Report earlier today, and we're going to do another mock draft today, you go from 3 to 11, Bo, with Tennessee. You're gutting their house, right? You're getting their first next year, a second this year, a second
Give me that package.
You're okay.
Give me future first.
There is an 8-pick difference. I know math. I have a calculator between pick 3 and pick 11. And that means 3 premium players, whether they're quarterbacks or position players, are going to be taken. And I have seen scenarios in which it becomes incredibly watered down. I would love it if Paris Johnson Jr., like in our mock draft earlier today, was available. What if he's not? What if both corners are gone? Are you going to be able to sell the fan base on Lucas Van Ness or Nolan Smith or Darnell Wright trading from 3 to 11, even though you get all these picks? That's a tough sell.
When we talk about no, it's not. When we talk about acing this draft, and when you take in all the variables in there, part of it is accumulating draft capital, right, for this draft and future drafts, and then picking premium positions. And every single player you just mentioned plays a premium position. If you miss out on Paris Johnson Jr., you have another option. As far as I know, that you're probably not going in the Skoronski route because people view him as a guard, and I get that. You got Wright, who's probably plays the right side of the line instead of the left side, so that's probably not your option there either. But you talk about cornerbacks, like they love Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois. If you get a CB1 potential in Witherspoon, there's a premium position. You get a Christian Gonzalez with his projectables, 6'2", 200 pounds, 40-inch vertical, under 4.40. I mean, he's got everything you want. So I think that there are players that there's enough there to pick from that even if what you feel is worst case scenario, there's still going to be a player there that projects to play at a high level at a premium position that you can get, plus you can get future draft assets.
I want to get to a couple of these comments. Trenell first. Johnny, have you seen next year's projected class? I would take all the picks. Hindsight's always better, but I agree with that. Rafa, this draft class is bad. Get all the picks you can for next year. I hear that. And I like this year's draft class probably more than most because I think it fits the Cardinals' needs better. I think it's heavy on offensive line and running backs and edge rushers. Cardinals could use all that. Here's what I won't argue on. We know definitively, we have its source. They like this class. They don't love it, right? They probably love next year's class more. Why? Because they're going to institute their new scouting department for the way they look at college prospects come August, right? They didn't do that for this year's class. So I am giving you what I would prefer to have happen, what I think would sell better with the fan base, the optics. Will Anderson Jr. plus a sweetener or two, I think would play better. But what Bo is proposing is probably going to happen. And I think people need to prepare themselves for the reality in which the pick they get back this year may be modest compared to what they get back next year. And that's a big tease, right? We all want picks this year. I want like 10 picks on day 2. But the reality is maybe you only get 1 pick on day 2, but you get 2 or 3 picks next year. That's a long time for this fan base who's already been fucking patient through multiple off seasons of rebuilding and no March signings and bust drafts. Like, people want to see players added right now today. And as much as it's great to have a first round pick next year, we're dealing with all this bullshit with Michael Bidwell. People are worried about him losing their first next year. So
what are we doing here? We've got our brand new big board. We haven't looked at it once, and we're just going off. Let's take a look. Let's debut it. Let's talk about some of the players who would be in the vicinity. If you're talking, if you get as low as you go from 7 to 8, maybe with Atlanta, to 11 with Tennessee. So who are we ballparking in that spot? You said a Lucas Van Ness, a guy who played a lot of significant snaps, made a big impact at Iowa. You've got Bijan Robinson. You got the first wide receiver off the board, probably not going skill position there. Nolan Smith, as you mentioned. Paris Johnson, he's 9th on our board.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we talking here?
It's that group of, I think, the 2 corners. Can somebody survive till pick 11? We're assuming the Cardinals could trade down with Tennessee in this scenario. Can somebody make it to pick 11 from those top 2 corners, which they love? Do you believe Todd McShay's kind of BS report that they like Skoronski? I do not. Tyree Wilson is not realistic as of today right now. Neither is Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. So it becomes, it's Paris Johnson Jr., who we have that's their top tackle. Could you take a secondary tackle like Jones or Wright? Wright specifically is a right tackle, but that's fine. They need a right tackle. They need everything. They need Nolan Smith. They need Lucas Van Ness. The package, though, needs to be substantial because, Bo, you've talked about this ad nauseum. The Cardinals won 4 games last year. So if you're watering down a top 10 pick from getting potentially the best overall player in this draft, and Will Anderson Jr., at least that's what this show thinks, to like the 4th edge rusher in Nolan Smith or the 3rd or 4th tackle, you better get all the picks. You better get them all, because you had the opportunity before the college football season this year in 2022. It was all about Will Anderson Jr. And fast forward 9 months, it's still about the young man from Alabama. And you've got an opportunity to take him at 3rd overall or 4th overall. You have to be able to sit up there, Ossenfort and Gannon. By the way, potentially after you just traded all-pro receiver DeAndre Hopkins, and sell everybody, Bo, that was the right decision. That's going to be tough. But I'm with you. I think it's the likelihood of what's going to go down come Thursday night.
It's not an enviable position at all, right? And Monti Ossenfort said that much as far as how he was going to evaluate trading down, because it's a two-way street, and you have to weigh what you're going to get in return potentially for trading down from 3 or anywhere in the draft, and what you're staring down as far as who's going to be on the board. You weigh the player, the prospect there versus what you would get as far as in return in a trade package. So, I mean, it's not something that he's not privy to. And that's one thing that you just have to, I know with a first-year GM, it's tough, but just trust in Monti that he's going to make the right decision. Now, we could take this down, and it's a great big board. We give props to producer Emma for putting that together. It looks great. You're going to see a lot of that throughout this week as we continue and ramp up our draft coverage. Can't wait for you to be out there with us on Thursday at our NFL draft party at Four Peaks. But, you know, it's going to be big for a guy like Monti Ossenfort and the Arizona Cardinals really to nail this thing come Thursday and beyond. I mean, and to really just kind of get into which prospects are going to help bolster this roster and help kickstart this rebuild.
Yeah, 100%. Love these comments. I want to get to some of them. Nick saying Nolan Smith equals Micah Parsons. I know they like Nolan Smith outside the top 10. He's not going to be a top 10 pick for them. I think the window of Nolan Smith is probably 10 to 15. I think the window, if they stay 7, 8, 9 in that area, assuming they can't get Will Anderson Jr., I think it starts and ends, I believe this, with Paris Johnson Jr. I'm almost getting the sense now, Bo, based on what we've heard, based on what I'm hearing, that their preference is to take a tackle even more so than a corner. Now, that might be outlandish for some people to hear. I think Detroit and Atlanta, assuming Atlanta doesn't deal down, are sniffing around both of these cornerbacks. So the Cardinals, presumably trading down, would assume that one of these or both of these corners would be gone. Bo.
Just think about what that would do to this offense immediately. Say it is Paris Johnson Jr. I mean, it changes the perception of this offense when Kyler Murray returns, right? You feel confident that they've got the depth necessary to keep him healthy. Like, you're not going to be questioning, well, should we be putting a guy coming off of his injury behind that offensive line? I think that removes a lot of the questions there. And the idea of what this offense and how it can operate if you start to get some absolute just dogs on the offensive line, right? Like, you like DJ Humphries, you're ho-hum probably on Calvin Beachum. There's nothing
they're
big
year
there.
They're year-to-year guys. That's
right.
What
They're year-to-year, but you add somebody that you can move forward, build with in Paris Johnson Jr., I think that people can get behind that. Absolutely. And in like this offense, like it's not inept, right? You get your quarterback back. You hopefully get him back up to speed in a new offense, playing it from under center a little bit more. Hopefully get somebody in the interior, hopefully a center that you can build with. And then this offense can start, you get James Conner. He starts to get maybe some more open rush lanes because you've got a better offensive lineman pushing around defensive linemen than you would if you don't. I think that when you start to think about it, like that's why they're premium positions. What a player or prospect, the caliber of a Paris Johnson Jr. would do for this organization right off the bat, and that reality exists beyond just a Will Anderson Jr. That's my entire point here.
Yeah,
in a very long-winded way.
There's a trickle-down effect when you take Paris, and it's all positive. And right now, if you had to ask me, like, I don't know if he's the best player, but if the Cardinals exit the top 10 with 1 or 2 players, I want it to be Will Anderson Jr. or Paris Johnson Jr. I just love impact line of scrimmage players. Cardinals have been too soft at that position for too long. And speaking of too long, it's been too long, I bet, since you've been on BetMGM Sportsbook. If it's at least been 20 minutes since the show started, it's been too long. We've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks. We're going to have special offers for our listeners each week. Right now, they have a robust emphasis on robust amount of NFL draft props. And listen to this. You can get busy with draft props and the NBA playoff action right now today with our new signature bets. New customers, click into the NBA playoff matchup of your choice. Click signature bets. Each game/market has their own unique set. You can also do the NFL draft predictor challenge. Answer 10 questions for a chance to win 25 in withdrawable bonus dollars. Love that. Miss out on the grand prize? Answer 7+ for bonus bets. You know, our friends BetMGM, they love their bonus bets. They're dishing them out on the reg. Every time I open it up, I get some bonus bets seemingly. It's under promotions, draft predictor challenge. You've got to enter, though, by 4 p.m. Pacific time on 4/27 to be able to participate and play. And speaking of play, we're going to be playing all fall long as it relates to our friends at BetMGM Sportsbook at the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers, by the way, depending on where you live. But for our AZ audience, you're going to get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you're using that bonus code PHNX. And get this, a week from Friday, we're starting our Knockout Nights Cornhole League. It's the first Friday of every month, starting in May, wrapping up in August. Free specials, giveaways, BetMGM prizes, and more. Live show broadcasts on site before. And how could I forget? Presented by Neutral, PHNX Suns. Watch parties for every single Suns playoff away game. And trust me, there's going to be a ton after tonight. The Suns advancing, hopefully, to the Western Conference semifinals. Check out this and more. Check out the show notes for details. And now listen to my guy, Shane Diefenbach, talk about it in the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
See people already asking us in the chat about who's buying first round when they see us at the Four Peaks NFL draft party. Well, that's on Johnny and myself. We are paying for the first beers for those wearing the PHNX swag like Johnny's got on his head. I'm wearing the BetMGM lid tonight, so I wouldn't get a beer, and that's on me, but it's not going to be on you if you show up wearing the PHNX sports swag. Thursday night, our draft party, we've been informed we only have a few spots remaining. Let's say under 5 spots remaining. Get it now. We'll have a description in the show notes. Click that link. We'll also push it out on our socials at PHNX Cardinals. We'll get you one last link. Get you into the draft party if you haven't done so already. Here's what you're going to get. You're going to get full first round coverage. We're going to have great guests. We're going to have analysis. We're going to break down the draft. We're also going to have beer specials, $3 Redberg Lager pints, $5 Redberg Lager pitchers, and your usual PHNX specials, $3 kilts and wow pints. Best place for the NFL draft is Four Peaks on Thursday night, April 27th. For those of you who have registered, we look forward to seeing you there. Cannot wait for that. Less than almost 48 hours from the day. Regardless, whether you're where you're watching it, you're enjoying that Redbird Lager, that Four Peaks, nectar of the gods. Got to be 21 years or older, but enjoy it responsibly. We'll get back into the draft conversation. We got a mock draft coming up. Also, we have an update as far as the gross misconduct allegations, the request for arbitration from a fired an ex-Cardinals employee. Just move that story along. But we got to get into this conversation. Pat McAfee show today. Pac-Man Jones has an in. He's got a source to the DeAndre Hopkins trade rumors. And earlier today, Johnny, it was Pac-Man Jones telling McAfee that he believes that there's a very real chance that a deal will be done for DeAndre Hopkins Thursday night at the NFL draft.
Yeah. Initially, it was like this week, and then he said Thursday. Well, let's start to piece together what that could mean. The Arizona Cardinals have picked 34. The Buffalo Bills have picked 27. I put this out on the Twitter streets. I texted some few friends. That's the equivalent of about a late third-round pick. And right now, depending on who you ask, that's probably DeAndre Hopkins' value. So I think everybody cautiously maybe start preparing yourself a DeAndre Hopkins, not pick acquisition, but pick swap. Could the Arizona Cardinals sneak back into the first round to take an Osiris, to take a John Michael Smith, could take an impact pass rusher if they don't get one at 3 or 7 or 11 or whatever? I think there's a good chance. I texted somebody who I trust if this was realistic, and I got back eyeball emojis. Now, that doesn't mean anything's a done deal.
J.J. Watt? Was it the Houston Texans?
No, I don't know what that is. I'm talking Cardinals. I'm talking Cardinals and D-Hop. Hopkins with the pick swap, and I also think with the Hollywood Brown situation kind of setting the precedent last year, I think the Cardinals have this deal done. I think they've had it done for a hot minute. I think the league, the NFL, the Cardinals, whomever they trade with, Buffalo, Kansas City, kind of want to keep it under wraps for a little bit of a showtime, primetime engagement. If Pac-Man Jones, who, I mean, let's be real, Bo, you said this before the show, his source is DeAndre Hopkins. His source is D-Hop. If D-Hop's saying he's getting traded Thursday night, then the parameters are probably already in place. DeAndre Hopkins hasn't been in any voluntary workouts for the Arizona Cardinals. I think there could be a very real possibility that the Cardinals do a pick swap with the Buffalo Bills, 34 to 27, which is the equivalent to a late third-round pick, and DeAndre Hopkins goes to Buffalo. What would you say yes to that right now, Bo Brack?
One more time for me, because it's tough to hear back here. It's 27 for 34 and D-Hop. And what's the change?
No, there's no change. That's
change.
It. That's the equivalent. Maybe there's change on draft night if that happens. That's the equivalent. If you look at the draft calculator value chart that
you move up 7 spots. You move into the first. Now Here's the important part of this. Here's the important part of the people, for those in the chat or those who are screaming at the podcast that they're listening to while they're driving in their car. You get a 5th year on your rookie contract by getting somebody late in the first round. So when you're staring down a large quarterback contract, like you're going to have to start paying next season, the 2024 season with Kyler Murray, it's important to get, controllable players. So if you want to build an offensive line around them, you're going to have 5 years. So say if you take an offensive lineman in the first round compared to the second round, you're getting that extra, you're getting a 5th year out of that player. And I think that's important when you're staring at a rebuild. I think that would be, it wouldn't be horrible as far as the D-Hop trade scenarios go. I mean, I would take moving back into the first over getting a 3rd or a 4th in return. As you said, the value as far as just the trade charts, it's right on par with a 3rd round pick.
Well, whomever's going to go in the late 20s is probably equal to whomever goes on the start of day 2, and that's how Buffalo figures it.
Yeah.
And if you get enough in the trade down package, presumably from 3 to wherever, you don't need a bunch of additional scraps for D-Hop, right? I think this is much more calculated, advantageous for the Arizona Cardinals to be able to come up. How cool would it be, as much as it would sting with DeAndre Hopkins being gone, to have 2 players at your opening presser? When's the last time the Cardinals have done that? 2003, 2004, when they took Calvin Pace and Brian Johnson. That was a hot mess disaster.
Yeah.
But it would be great. Could you imagine Will Anderson Jr. and John Michael Smith standing up there, Paris Johnson Jr., and Osiris, what's Osiris's last name?
Torrance.
Torrance standing up there with their dual jerseys.
Just huge.
With their white,
humans.
clean jerseys up there at the press conference. It's just like, and then you turn around, you have, you're still in good shape. You probably still have a 2nd round pick from your trade down option, whomever that was with. So it's not my preference. My preference is to get a 2nd for D-Hop, a true 2nd. That does not look likely.
What does a 2nd do for you this draft?
Well, I mean, it gives you options. You could trade down. You could trade in next year. You've got 34 plus a 2nd. But I
think that 5th year, that's very appealing to me. I mean, not only do you get a better prospect, and I know that there's only 20. A lot of evaluators say there's only 20 first-round grades here. So you get close if somebody slides, right?
Let's get our big board back up, producer.
Yeah, we're going to wear this thing out. Absolutely. Let's get into it. John was in the chat asking who we taking, and I love that line of thinking. Absolutely, you should be thinking that right away. So if we're ballparking it, you got Brian Breesy, the D tackle at Clemson, 25. John Jingleheimer, Michael Schmitz at 26. That's your center in the future, consensus top center in this draft. Mozzie Smith, nose tackle out of Michigan. Jahmyr Gibbs. Let's not get crazy. We're not going to take a running back in the first round. Not going to take a wide receiver. All those
players minus the 3 skill players are options. Torrance, Murphy, McDonald, Breezy, Schmidt, depending on what you do with your first pick. This draft, and this is our big board. Other big boards are obviously going to be different. This draft plays to what the Cardinals suck at, what they need. Linemen and pass rushers and some tasty defensive linemen. So I also like the mindset of the 5th-year option, Bo, because a 5th-year option on a pass rusher or an elite tackle or an elite interior offensive lineman, that's worth its weight, its gold. You know where it's not great is probably with a running back. That's not great value. So can you imagine? You trade down from 3 to let's say the Cardinals trade from 3 to 7. And they get Paris Johnson Jr. at 7, right? And now they're at 27. And getting an impact defensive lineman like a Breezy, I mean, that's sign me up for that right now. Then you turn around on day 2, you got a bunch of picks from your trade down.
We talk about ace in the draft. I mean, that's what it looks like. Really cashing in on maximizing trading down from 3, and then potentially, trading DeAndre Hopkins for a controllable draft and develop guy who can make an impact year 1, but it's you've got a half decade of this player locked in. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but I also won't have an issue if they get a 2nd. I mean, that would be, I think that ship has sailed. I just don't know if that's realistic and happening, but and I don't know how realistic this is. I mean, you just got to trust your source on that, and that's That's exciting to think about, because considering where DeAndre Hopkins' market was, it was dead weeks ago.
Well, I'm not saying this is going to happen. So everybody just needs to take that with a grain of salt. But I think the wording from the Pac-Man today, and I'm going to trust Pac-Man, is that he could have said he's going to be traded during the draft. He's going to be traded later this week. He was specific. He said it's going to be I'm hearing it could be Thursday night. Well, what does that mean? That means a pick swap. If he's traded on Thursday night, he's going to be traded for pick 34, and the Cardinals are going to come up from round 2 to round 1. They're going to have 2 first-round picks. If he's traded Friday, it's going to be for a third. And I would say the blowback from trading D-Hop, because like we're in this every day. The chat, PHNX Cardinals, we're here living this every day. Twitter's living it every day. But like the people who are not, they don't have a firm virtual presence. They're not in this digital space. A lot of people are like, Hopkins for pick 91, fire everybody. You know that.
The casuals out there, right?
Mom and pop. Yeah, the casuals out there. What the fuck are you doing? Trading Hopkins for pick 91 or 96?
They've got their brand new DeAndre Hopkins Arizona Cardinals uniform on, jersey on. What happened? I thought he was staying.
I just got this jersey yesterday. I think the blowback and the optics, which are important, if all things are equal, it looks better to say, well, we traded Diop and we kind of got a first-round pick out of it. You didn't, but you kind of did. That matters to people. And I think that this is a nice compromise. Again, give me the extra picks. But if you can't get it, I mean, shit, man, when's the last time this franchise has done something exciting in the first round? I mean, and you could exit the first round with a bunch of players. That's think about this. What if they trade down from 3 to 7 or 3 to 11? They get a 1 next year. And then they trade Hopkins and they do the pick swap. You're Houston suddenly. You got 4 first rounders in 2 years. Those should be 4 Pro Bowl players. Paris Johnson and Osiris Torrance, and then next year Marvin Harrison Jr. and a pass rusher. Right, this roster's flipped on its head real quick. To me, this franchise, they know where their bread is buttered, and they know Hopkins is by far and away their best tradable asset. Not named Budda Baker, which they're not going to trade. I am growing on this move should they make it by the hour, Bo.
Yeah. Our guy in the chat nailing this one, just checked it out. Jalen Blair saying Tony Pauline updating his Sunday story saying that teams are inquiring with the Cardinals about the 3rd overall pick to move up for a tackle, where the Cardinals, now he's hearing from the organization or people in the know that the Cardinals could stay at 3 and just take Paris Johnson themselves. So the Paris Johnson hype, it's very real. Let's get that. We mentioned the 5th-year option. Let's just mention this real quick, and we'll get into our mock draft. We'll tell you what's going on with Bidwell and the gross misconduct allegations. But so we're seeing a couple big names, right? Joe Burrow, top pick in the 2020 draft. Justin Jefferson, the 20th pick in the 2020 draft. We're starting to see the 5th-year options, the easy decisions made on that, because the deadline is next Tuesday. We still don't have anything as far as Isaiah Simmons, but let's take a look at who they had as far as the 5th-year options picked up for the 2020 draft. Only a few, right? So it's no Simmons, right? You got Burrow, the top guy in that draft. You've got Tua at 5. You've got down the line a little bit. You've got CeeDee Lamb at 17. And then you've got 22nd overall Justin Jefferson. Great graphic here. Burrow, Tua, Tristan Wirfs mixed in there at 13. CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. 13 and 17 hurt the most because those are 2 guys that the Cardinals were targeting, 2 guys that Kyler Murray identified as players he wanted in this draft. We're going to ask tomorrow an update, because we are going to get to talk to at least Jonathan Gannon after voluntary minicamp at Cardinals training facility tomorrow about, the latest and where they are with Isaiah Simmons. But I'm not seeing anything of Simmons around the organization. He wasn't a part of the uniform reveal. He wasn't a part of the workouts that they had a couple weeks ago. He wasn't there in the pictures I saw today from the facility, the team going through voluntary minicamp. It just seems like there is distance between the 2020 8th overall pick and the organization. And it just kind of what we've been talking about, doesn't seem likely that they're going to pick up that 5th-year option for close to $12 million on the versatile linebacker.
Emma, could you do me a favor? Can we put up this graphic one more time? Because it's got the notables who are getting picked up, and several of them in the top 10. I'm getting word right now we have an update on Isaiah Simmons getting his 5th-year option picked up. It's a big no. This podcast has been telling you no for 4 to 6 weeks. It's not happening, right? It was not a good pick. He doesn't have a position.
Why'd you do that to everybody?
Update. There's no update.
Making fart noises with your mouth? Ron Burgundy?
Here's what's going to happen. Cardinals are going to have a banner weekend in the NFL draft, okay? And they're going to sneak out through the Twitter streets. Hey, we didn't pick up Isaiah Simmons' 5th-year option. Look over here. We got Will Anderson. Look over here. We took a bunch of players. We got a future one next year. That's what's going to happen. Book it. This podcast has been telling you for 2 months. They don't value the position. They may not value the player. He has skipped everything. He might play for the team. I'm going to tell you right now, like, what if they traded Isaiah Simmons over the weekend? Would that surprise anybody? I don't have that source or whatever, but Isaiah Simmons, $12.5 million. They won't even sign a backup quarterback for $1 million. 12.5. He doesn't have a position. Goodbye. I hope if you bought an Isaiah Simmons,
I can't believe you had Emma go through putting the graphic on the screen. You said you got us all excited. You had an update, and then you made a fart noise with your mouth. Not just any fart, like a gigantic fart noise out of your mouth. Unbelievable.
Oh, Isaiah, why did you spurn us twice? Come on the program.
Oh, it's personal. It's personal. We're getting is the slander continue? Look, I agree. I think that it's all signs pointing to the fifth year option not being picked up. You look at those names, and Justin Herbert's going to be a part of that. They're probably just trying to iron out an extension before even having to lock in the 5th year option. That's a no-brainer, part of that draft. There's a couple other no-brainers, but it's like you look at these guys, and there's no question. Maybe Tua just because of his health, but there's really no question as far as these guys and the impact of their game. Yeah, classic wing king, Johnny Venerable. He got us.
I did. It's great though. I saw that graphic. I'm like, that's a great graphic. Let's see it again. But Isaiah,
you better not make a fart noise with your mouth as we look at this.
I won't do it again. I promise I won't. Listen, I'm not anti-Isaiah Simmons, contrary to popular belief. But I'm going to tell you right now, like, what he provides to the team does not equal $12.5 million. You know what? It probably doesn't provide $5 million. They don't value that position. Kaiser White is everything that Jonathan Gannon wants out of a linebacker. What do they pay him? Like $3 or $4 million? They want to pay a Paris Johnson Jr. or Will Anderson Jr. the money that they're going to have to pay. They would have to pay Isaiah Simmons. They want to sign those kind of checks for those kind of premium positions, not guys who play corner and edge rusher and inside backer and safety. It just doesn't make sense, man. I'm not lying in front of 270 people picking spreads like this video, by the way.
271. Johnny's mom just joined on and said, "What happened?" Well, your son just made a fart noise with his mouth.
Yeah, and
he got paid for it
show.
in a weird way.
We're journalists, damn it.
No, it's unfortunate. Like I was the biggest Isaiah Simmons fan. You would love to see the potential tapped into, and you saw it on display, you know, in some game-changing plays. But as far as the consistency, as far as the position that you can or cannot say he plays, and what this organization, the new regime, and how they want to invest their cap dollars, it just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. And you know, there's a very real scenario in the future where Isaiah Simmons is playing big-time football wearing a different uniform, and that's
what's big-time football for Isaiah Simmons. I think you make an argument we've probably seen the best of Isaiah Simmons. Like, this is who he is. And if this is who he is, what's the price tag? Like, he had a robust stat rap sheet this year. Like, look at his statistics. They look good on paper. But then you watch the game and he's like, we can't really defend the run, and he's never going to be a double-digit sack artist because he can't rush from the edge. He can get some intercept. Like, there's a place for Isaiah Simmons in the NFL as a starting player. But, like, how much you going to pay for that? What would you pay in a perfect world for Isaiah Simmons, Bo Brack?
No, I mean, he's going to have to prove it. He's going to have to prove it whether he's wearing a Cardinals uniform this year or some other uniform this year. And I don't think that that's a real good chance of happening. I think that they just roll the dice and let him play out his rookie deal, the 4 years. And then we'll see what the market looks like next year. And if he plays well, could he get a deal that looks like TJ Edwards got from the Eagles?
Maybe.
He'd have to up his game as far as the consistency on a down-to-down basis, but it's not there yet. But the game-changing plays, like if you incorporate consistency with the game-changing plays that he made last year, like the strip sack of Kirk Cousins that could have turned the game against the Vikings, or the big play he had in overtime against Vegas. It's there, but the down-to-down from the opening kickoff to the final whistle blowing, I don't think any Cardinals fan will say that it's there yet. So if he can prove that in this year, I just don't think the Cardinals want to invest beyond, with anybody not named Kyler Murray, that type of money.
And I'm going to, not to throw water on tomorrow's show when we get, confirmation or not on Simmons, but look with your eyes and let them tell you what they're doing with their actions, not their words. Like, Simmons hasn't been around. Like, look at all these players trying to ingratiate themselves with Gannon. Hollywood Brown wants to be here and wants a new deal. Isaiah Simmons, he's hanging out with D-Hop and he's doing what he wants to do. And has he even talked to this coaching staff? We're going to find out. But is it how you would want your fifth-year option to be captain of your defense, inside linebacker, to handle this? Zaven Collins is the heir apparent right now. He's the guy who's going to call this defense and be the template.
He's got the luxury of time. He has the luxury of time. He's going into his 3rd year, where Isaiah Simmons is going in his 4th year. There's this deadline that's looming May 2nd, next Tuesday. And, if
I'm Isaiah Simmons,
they had to make the decision. If you flipped them, if it was Zaven Collins and he was staring down, would you pick up Zaven Collins' 5th year right now?
No, I need one more year to look at him.
I hate you.
You do.
AZ Cards Nerd 11 saying the previous regime effed up Simmons in the worst way possible, and he's a decent player when he has a proper coaching staff, and that might be the case. I mean, we're going to see. Like, it benefits Isaiah Simmons, even if he's playing in a lame duck contract year. It's a contract year, and it's going to be an important one for Simmons if he wants to cash in going into his prime in the NFL. He's going to want to listen to guys like Gannon and Nick Rollis and the defensive coaching staff for the Cardinals in order to really cash in his final deal of his rookie year, of his rookie deal.
You can cash in too, but on the cheap with our friends at Circle K. We're so excited to partner with Circle K. Check out your local Circle K. Best coffee, beer, snack selection, premium gas filled up this morning. I'm going to tell you what, much cheaper than a lot of the faux competitors to Circle K. After the show, I'm going to go stock up Polar Pops, iced coffee, 12 packs of beer. Hello, Four Peaks, Monster Energy drinks. I'm going to get ready for PHNX Suns broadcast right before Suns tip off at home against the Clippers. And I get my snacks at Circle K just down the street. If you don't have one near you or you don't know where a Circle K is, convenience at a convenient price, head to circlek.com/store locator. That's circlek.com/store locator. It's super hot right now. You do not want to be stuck in rural Arizona without a cold drink and a filled up gas tank at not a premium price. Check out circlek.com for all of their benefits, their programs. They've got a ton of stuff that you can check out. You can save, that really is designed to help save you money on all the stuff that we use on a daily basis. Again, circlek.com/store locator, Bo.
I'm hitting up Circle K on the way home. I'm going to gas up, going to get some. Yep. They've got elite beef jerky. It's moist. It's delicious. Their Circle K beef jerky goes crazy. Also, which goes crazy, all the furniture from More Furniture. Yeah, get your house, your apartment, your condo, get it set up with More Furniture. They're already starting to ramp up their Memorial Day sale where you can get up to 50% off. Check them out right now on their website, morefurniture.com. Buy what you need for your home and more at morefurniture.com. Their white glove delivery is unreal. You can't find anything that matches it from any other furniture company out there. You can buy the furniture from them. They're going to get the white glove delivery. They'll deliver it to your house. They'll get rid of the packaging. They'll set it up and they'll put it exactly where you want without you having to lift a finger. The white glove delivery is unbelievable. We received it for our office. They set us up. We didn't have to do anything. Save big on the best furniture in the Valley when you head over to morefurniture.com, Johnny. real quick before we do the mock draft, an update on the Michael Bidwell / the allegations from fired employee Terry McDonough to the Cardinals and requesting arbitration from the league. This is what we have. As far as that goes, the league seems like it's moving forward. It selected the NBA's former top lawyer to arbitrate an employment dispute between the Cardinals owner Michael Bidwell and the team's former vice president, player personnel, Terry McDonough. So that's the latest on that. And they expect, as far as this to go, that as part of his duties, that this Michigan will determine the schedule for the legal discovery. So they're going to investigate depositions. Well, they'll talk to people, and they expect to take at least several months. So this is not going anywhere, and the NFL is moving forward with it.
Yeah. Listen, it's not surprising. The league couldn't just let this go on without taking action. This is not good for the Shield. And so the NFL and their big boys are going to step in, and their big girls are going to step in and decide, okay, who's at fault here? What can we do to specifically like diffuse the situation, right? And there's rumors that more people are going to come out. Michael Bidwell, fair or not, needs to be under the microscope here. He needs to be held accountable. If the Cardinals were to act in such a way that Terry McDonough and company have explained, I expect there to be more that point the finger at Michael Bidwell, and he's attorney, and I would imagine he's got the best attorneys at his disposal to protect him and his franchise. But Roger Goodell's best interest is making sure that all 32 owners and all 32 teams are shining examples for how not only you operate as a football team, but as a Fortune 500 company, as a Fortune 50 company. So, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I think it's just kind of white noise at this point. But I think the big key item there is it's going to take a couple months. Could we have resolution by the start of the season? Who knows? But I mean, goodness, with Daniel Snyder gone, it would be in Bidwell's best interest to get his house cleaned up, to make sure the Cardinals aren't continually lumped in this category of not getting things right on and off the field. And there are people who are adamant that more is coming in the way of Michael Bidwell, the embarrassment that they've been for the better part of 18 to 24 months. Terry McDonough was clearly not the model employee, but two parties can be right, but also wrong simultaneously. So I'm anxious to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, well said. Let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's wrap this thing up with a mock draft.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to pull up here. Give me a second. I'm going to present. And are we going to allow trades? I think we'll allow it.
Yeah, I think we should.
Mock draft simulator. Let's party with our friends at Pro Football Focus. If you missed it on the top of the show, if you send Bo and I a mock draft between now and tomorrow, we will put it on the show. We want to see who you want.
Yeah. The problem with the Pro Football Focus, and somebody pointed this out in the chat, is it is behind a paywall. So if you, wherever you do your mock draft, if you can find a free one, we will absolutely take that.
Yeah. I didn't know that. Come on, PFF. Give us the free mock drafts. All right. So Arizona Cardinals, 3rd overall pick. We're going to do all 7 rounds. And goodness, it's going to be sad when we're not going to be able to do this anymore, at least for the 2023 NFL draft. So we're on the clock. We're going to start the draft. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Bo Brack go back to back. There's sweet Will Anderson Jr. Go ahead and ignore Jalen Carter there. He's not an option for this team. You want to dabble with the trade? Let's dabble.
Yeah, of course I do. Now, as far as the mock draft simulator, it will not be deterred by all the latest rumblings as far as what Houston will do with the 2nd overall pick. It stayed firm. It took the quarterback. That's the logical thing to do. Take the 2nd best QB on the board. So CJ Stroud, you're gone. So let's take a look at some of the options. Don't want to trade within the division. What else we got, Johnny? Let's go. We like to trade with the Raiders. We've done a trade with the Tennessee Titans. Falcons might be in the fold there. Anybody else standing out to you? Let's get crazy with this one.
I'm going to say Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's quarterback situation is a disaster. The Vikings I would put in this category as well. The Ravens, maybe. You pick between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Baltimore Ravens, both teams that presumably need quarterbacks of the future that would move up for Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. Which is your preference right now?
I would go Tampa. I mean, you're just falling too far down the draft board if you go with Minnesota all the way down. Or do you want
to do the Colts? Colts are right here.
Yeah, let's do the Colts. The one you outlined that you said would be acing the draft. So let's see what we can kind of pull from the Colts. So of course you just swap 3 for 4. You said
they're not interested. They're not interested, Bo Brack. Why won't they talk to us?
Well, put the second round pick on there and just see if that gets the deal done.
It does not.
Wow,
Now,
that was a hard no.
Pick 79 and maybe 106. Let's offer that. So the Colts are they're not responding to Michael Bidwell and company's
There's
phone
nobody
call
on the board that they feel like is in trouble of getting taken by the Cardinals at 3.
All right. You want to go back to the Packers? The Packers have a lot of picks suddenly. What if Jordan Love kind of sucks ass like everybody assumes that they want to come up and
Jordan
get some
Love is younger than Hendon Hooker?
That's unbelievable, but that does not surprise me.
Let's stick with Vegas here. Let's either go Vegas or Tennessee.
Are they interested? I don't know if they're interested. They're not interested. Some of these teams says we're gonna force. You know what? We're forcing the trade. We're gonna force this trade. I'm sorry. We're gonna do it. We're gonna force the trade. Why is it giving me? Why is it giving me position players?
Just go with the Falcons.
Go with the Falcons. But they're not interested. These are the teams that are not interested. This mock draft is just all right. Are we gonna force the trade with Atlanta?
I say if we're gonna force the trade, do it with Indy.
But they're not. It's this. What's going on here? Chat, help us. I can't. It says force this trade. There we go. Now we can do it. Yeah, you will take our trade and you will like it. Pick 35, pick 4 for pick 3, forcing this trade. Oh, they accepted it. Hooray.
Wow.
All right. We're living a good life here. Anthony Richardson, Jim Irsay. How about it? How about this sweet boy right here, Bo Brack?
All right. Let's do it.
Do
we really even have to look at his player card? We know everything we want about Will Anderson Jr.
Will Anderson Jr., 4th overall pick. Cardinals get pick 35. 35 alive. Okay. So on the clock, back to back first.
You don't feel like there's a reality where Will Anderson is wearing a Cardinals uniform come Friday, right?
What?
You really think that's a realistic possibility?
Of course I do. Tony Pauline saying they could stick at pick 3, even though it's for Paris Johnson Jr. You think Paris Johnson Jr. could be drafted over Will Anderson Jr. for this franchise? I think I would probably put it like 20, 25%. 1 out of 5, 1 out of 4. Get out of here with that. I don't like the negativity. All right, we got back-to-back. We got back-to-back picks. They're basically first. You could do a lot of good things here. We got Will Anderson Jr. Anton Harrison's available. John Michael Smith is available. Josh Downs, a lot of people are high on. Bo Brack. I'm going to give you the honor. Pick 34 for this franchise. What do you like?
I like the tackle out of Oklahoma because you went on the defensive side of the football. Wow, you just pulled the trigger on that. I was going to talk myself through it. So now right back on the board. So you got tackle, and then you can go John Michael Schmitz.
This franchise crushing it, forced trades and all. You absolutely love to see it. I wonder if that'll affect our draft grade. And we're not as high on Anton in our big board. I still think he's a day 2 pick, but probably a mid to late second. But we got him here, and we're sitting here at pick 66. Whippler is no longer an option, conceivably, because we've got John Michael Smith, Bo Brack. This kid, I want to say, a little bit undersized, is Nathaniel Dell. There's nobody. This draft class is tough because there's not a ton of guys over 6 foot.
Get out of my face. Get 5'8" Tank Dell out of my face.
What do you think about we took Cabernet earlier today?
Phillip out of Utah would be a good option. Corner, another premium position.
Long. Nope. He's 5'9". He's a slot corner. How about this? Little running back action here. Devon from Texas A&M. How do you say Devon's last name?
Charbonnet on the board.
Yeah, I'm just trying to spice things up. This is like Chase Edmonds 2.0. Should we do Cabernet again? Should we have our second glass of Cabernet? I think we should.
Wow, you just pull the trigger on it. Like my opinion doesn't mean anything to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's rude of me. All right. Bo Brack's going to run the show at pick 96 for the Arizona Cardinals.
When the pick is made for me, I mean, it's going to be the corner out of TCU, Hodges Tomlinson. Just take him. Go ahead and then make your pick. Just blindly.
All right. Now, I don't want to be on bad terms. Does it concern you? All these corners are like slot corners, undersized guys, Bo.
No, because they don't have Byron Murphy any longer. They don't have anybody that's going to play slot unless it's Isaiah Simmons. And please don't. I don't want to see him play slot corner any longer.
All right. So Cardinals checking some boxes, as are we. Pick 105. All right. So This is start of day 2. Cardinals are going to have plenty of time here to make their move. Byron Young, a player I would have been interested in, went 1 pick before to Houston. The kid out of Texas, Jomo, I'm interested. Corey Trice isn't a bad option as well. Kobe Turner, we went earlier on Bleacher Report, Bo.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a wrong pick. I mean, I don't mind doubling down on Kobe Turner, defensive lineman from Wake Forest. Had some good size, had some good numbers against some solid teams. And the Cardinals, they need a little beef on the defensive line. I think that's a no-brainer.
That's a nice pick. Because they went Lecky Fotu, Rashad Lawrence with 2 force a couple of years ago. I think they almost need to emulate that strategy, assuming they can't get one of the top guys early on. Because this defensive line class, the edge rushers are great. D tackles kind of all over the place. That's a position group, man, that needs a lot of help. Speaking of help, safety help do anything for you? Or my preference, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, 149. PFF has simultaneously bumped him up their rankings. I swear we were doing this a month ago. He was in the 300s. DTR is my preference for the quarterback to hold the clipboard for Kyler Murray and to maybe start games while Kyler Murray is on the shelf. I don't want to see Colt McCoy. I don't want to see anything resembling whatever David Blau is doing with this franchise right now. I want DTR for better or worse with this Cardinal White road unis. Hello, Bo Brock.
We've got 3 picks remaining, correct? So
yes,
DTR. I was watching a thing with Jordan Palmer. He's actually a fan of the former UCLA quarterback. Sure, I don't think it's realistic to say that he's going to start in place of a McCoy or a David Blau even. But to add a potential future backup to Kyler Murray, I have no problem with that.
God, he just abused Arizona State, didn't he? Man, that we should make Shane and company do a rewatch of that game. Absolutely brutal. He's a Cardinal now. DTR, they met with him at the Combine. We know they like him a lot. We like him in our mock draft. Pick 180, Bo Brock. It's funny. Everybody says it's a bad safety class, and all these safeties that are ranked high continue to fall. Talk about a devalued position right now. Do you feel like a temptation here to go wide out? Let's check on some of these available wide receivers since we have not pulled the trigger yet. Any of these names doing anything for you?
Nah, not necessarily. No, I don't really like any of these guys. I wouldn't mind looking at. We never. Did we end up taking the running back at a UCLA or no?
We did take Cabernet.
Charbonnet.
And so Charbonnet. So I think running backs out of the. I mean, really, the only position group we have not addressed yet is. I mean, John Michael Schmitz is going to play center,
right?
You could, yeah. We need a guard. Jake Andrews, Mafi out of UCLA. A lot of people are high on. I don't love the kid out of Chandler, the kid from Louisville. I think he's more of an undrafted free agent. Any of these names do anything for you?
No.
Okay.
Because we already got Mike. We already got John Michael Schmitz. So Andrews, as far as the center positions, taken care of. Lontrell Miller.
Cardinals worked him out. They had a top 30 visit with him. Does that kind of point to maybe looking at him on day 3?
I think that you could be looking for an inside linebacker, and it's going to be on the cheap. So get an athletic player. So,
yikes! What happened against Florida State? Burn the tape. Everything else looks pretty solid. Obviously struggled against 2-time Natty. Everybody just beat up on Missouri this year. I think this is a pick, at the very least, a special teamer, 6th-round pick where we're going to be getting our inside linebackers moving forward. Ventrell Miller, Florida Gator product, now an Arizona Cardinal. Last pick in this draft, pick 213. No future picks to help our grade, Bo Brock. You pick the position and the player, my friend.
I either like Clark, some beef in the middle, or go with the Fresno State wide receiver Marino Cropper.
I'm gonna dab
5'11".
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll do meat and potatoes. We'll get funny and frisky with the Coastal Carolina defensive lineman. Good value, 166. This defensive line group, just throw everything at it. Throw the kitchen sink at it, all the bread, all the milk. We're trying everything we can. This unit desperately needs an infusion of talent wherever we can find it. So wide receiver, I have to wait until we take Marvin Harrison Jr. next year. Grading our last final mock draft, at least for today, for PFF and PHNX Cardinals pre-draft in 2023. How did we do? Well, Will Anderson Jr., A+. They also They didn't really grade our trade, it doesn't look like. But the only pick they didn't like, our boy Ventrell Miller.
Yeah. Not a bad final mock draft for us before the real thing on Thursday. Can't wait. We're wrapping up mock draft season. And yeah, ended with a banger. You checked off a lot of boxes there. You forced a trade. But it's fine. I don't know what
real aggressive with that trade.
System. Maybe he was mad that we pointed out that it's behind a paywall. But pretty solid mock draft. Look, Will Anderson Jr., as much as I push back on, just dropping down and getting a second and taking Will Anderson Jr., I think it's accumulation of assets. But if that's the best deal possible and you get a player the caliber of Will Anderson Jr., that's a win as well. And to be able to get your future starting center and John Michael Schmitz, another dub for you. So you like it. Yeah, there's not much not to like about that mock draft.
Nothing to not like about these super chats. KR Gordon 08. Think Johnny owes me my first beer Thursday. Laugh out loud. If you're there and you're rocking some gear, my man Gordon, you got it. It is on me and Bo Brock. No doubt about it. Doc Carolina and Crone, $10 super chat. Thank you so much, my man. All I know is when the team sticks for the next 4 years, y'all better speak on it. Sticks or stinks? We hired the exact man. Only difference is he's a defensive specialist. I think in comparison to Cliff Kingsbury, with all due respect, we appreciate the super chat. I've met both Cliff Kingsbury and Jonathan Gannon. They could not be more different, Bo Brock.
Yeah, no, I mean, anytime you ask Cliff Kingsbury a question, you hardly got an answer. You ask Jonathan Gannon a question, he answers it and then tells you how he got to that answer. There's more depth to a guy like Jonathan Gannon. I think that he's prepared beyond just the X's and O's on the field, but he's preparing this organization for success from his coaching staff to holding the scouts accountable to the people who make the smoothies. We heard this the other day, that Jonathan Gannon is not just sitting there eating lunch with his coaching staff. He's sitting there eating lunch with employees of the organization. He's helping being a culture changer for this organization. You know who didn't do that? Fortunately, the guy that they had to let go of on Black Monday. To say he's the same guy, I think that's I appreciate the super chat. I just don't think that's right.
Yeah, we had a team employee come up to us recently and say, hey, this guy sits and eats lunch with us unprompted. Pretty awesome. Can he win games? We're going to find out. Pick and spreads, $2 super chat. Are you guys doing a first round mock or a AZ seventh round mock? We're open for suggestions here for tomorrow's show, the pre-draft show ahead of Thursday. All options are on the table. I'm going to tell you right now, an option for you should be our friends at Pins and Aces. I got a Pins and Aces shirt recently. You guys saw it on the broadcast a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week. First of all, it pops off the screen. It's also one of the softest, most breathable shirts I've had in forever, on top of the PHNX merchandise locker gear I rock on the rag. It's got the best, that being Pins and Aces, best golf apparel accessories out there. We're going to help you out right now. Promo code PHNX. You're going to get 15% off. PHNX promo code, 15% off at Pins and Aces. It's the official golf partner for all things AllCITY and PHNX. Check out Big Drive Energy wherever you get your golf podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts in general. They make amazing hats, polos, golf bags, even our favorite beer sleeve, an innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf cart in the Valley. That's a must-have. Keep your drinks cold.
I'm actually pouring those beers at Four Peaks out of my Pins and Aces beer sleeve. That's how I'm going to save costs on everybody that's going to come up wearing PHNX gear.
Click the link in the show notes to sign up for Keepin It 100 golf tournament at Dobson Ranch. Love Dobson Ranch at 526. Pins and Aces is going to be there. Prizes, good time, giveaways, etc. Check out pinsandaces.com. Use PHNX to receive 15% off your order. Get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com, Bo.
Sounds good. We are getting closer and closer to the 2023 NFL Draft, culmination of all the coverage that we provided, from the Senior Bowl to the Combine to going out there and meet the new Cardinals regime. And we're going to see what they're made of, who they're going to pick and tab as the future of the Arizona Cardinals organization. Can't wait to do it with all of you at the draft party on Thursday. Can't wait to talk to you one more time, at least between now and then, barring any emergency podcasts. Make sure you're subscribed to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Get those alerts set up in case we do drop an emergency podcast. For Emma, for Johnny Venerable, and myself, Bo Brock, have a great rest of your Tuesday. Talk to you Wednesday, breaking down your mock drafts here on PHNX Cardinals. Can't wait.